Welcome back, everybody. Okay, for this week, we're going to look at augmented six chords, something that we've seen in a few analysis examples that we've done, but I haven't counted them in your homework assignments as much as the other chords because I felt like we needed to review them specifically. So after this week, hopefully you'll feel a little bit more familiar with augmented six chords. I've made this worksheet for you so that you can follow along what I'm going to do on MuseScore, and this is on Canvas, of course. Oops, hello. This is on Canvas, of course. So on MuseScore, I'm going to start by building one of each of them on the staff and showing you what I would double where relevant. So we'll start with the Italian six chord. And I'll make these each in whole notes. The Italian, these all have things in common, and the Italian one is sort of like the building block of all of them. They all have scale degree 1. So let's assume that this is in, oops. This is in C major. Oh, geez. Let's assume that this is in C major, and I'll label the key in just a moment. We're going to double scale degree 1. Why? Put that over there. We're going to double scale degree 1. Each of them has scale degree 1 in it, and then also they typically have flat 6 in the base. It's almost like a recipe. Like, here are the ingredients for an augmented 6 chord. We have 1 sharp 4, flat 6. Those are the ingredients. I'll even add that to the Word document. Each has sharp 4, 1, and flat 6. I'm not going to bother looking for the flat symbol right now because my computer doesn't like it when I do that, but that's the idea. So there's our Italian. Let's go ahead and label this one, and I'll label it like this: Italian plus 6. So after that, we just start building the chord with more things, or different ingredients are added to the mix. So we definitely have 1. Let's put that in the top voice. No, let's put that in the tenor. We are still going to have flat 6, and we are still going to have sharp 4. But then we're also going to add, for this one, scale degree 2. And that's the distinctive feature of this chord, which is the French augmented 6 chord. So there is our second one. Scale degree 2, again, is the important addition here. But we still have 1, we still have flat 6, we still have sharp 4. So I'll say over here in the notes, French, add 2. And then, if I go back here, let's look at the next variation. We're still going to have 1, which I will put here in the tenor. We're still going to have flat 6. We're still going to have sharp 4. And then we're also going to add flat 3. And when we add flat 3 to the mix, now it becomes the German augmented 6 chord. So let me add that to the notes over here. German, add flat 3. In a minor key, this is already lowered, and flat 3 is already lowered. So those will be in the key signature of a minor key they might not be accidentals that kind of grab your eye the way that they do here, as if we're in C major, although I realize it just made it look like it's in C minor, so there we go. So, okay, a couple other variations that just have to do with spelling and the arrangement, but not different pitches. So, if we have the same 1, flat 6, sharp 4, and instead of spelling this note as flat 3, instead if we spell it as sharp 2, then it is enharmonically exactly the same pitches and the same sound as the German, but we call this one the Swiss augmented 6 chord, which is very funny. It's sort of a joke. I'll explain. We call it that. Oops. I want to alter this one. We call it that because the joke is that it looks French because it has scale degree 2 in it, but it sounds German because scale degree 2 is raised, as though a Swiss person looks French and sounds German. I don't even know if that's true. That's just the music theory joke. And in the other video, I tell you the same thing, and I tell you I will give you all the music theory jokes I know. None of them are good, but they are required. So Swiss, add sharp 2 instead of flat 3. Looks French. Sounds German. So that would be the next example. And then there's one more variation I want to tell you about. If we go back to the German spelling, we'll still have all the same pitches. We'll still have 1, and we'll still have flat 3. The difference is that instead of sharp 4 being in the top, now it's in the bass. And instead of flat 6 being in the top, or in the bass, now it's in like the soprano or the top voice. And so this is considered like an inversion of that same chord, and this is called the German 7 instead of the German augmented 6. You can add the plus or you can not, it doesn't really matter. It's not really an augmented 7th at that point. It's really a diminished 7th. But anyway, so we call it the German 7th, like that, when sharp 4 is in the bass. The idea is that sharp 4, whichever voice they're in, sharp 4 and flat 6 both push out toward scale degree 5. So let's note that. Flat 6 and sharp 4, no matter which voice, push outward toward, or push toward scale degree 5. And the idea is that these chords are almost more of like a sort of coincidental result of counterpoint, and not chords that we would put a Roman numeral on, because there's no root and there's no function that would go with a particular scale degree, and they all have 1 in them. So it's sort of, they're not the same as all the other chords that we've learned that we could put Roman numerals on, and that's why they have these identities. There's not really a lot of like authentic logic to why this one's Italian and this one's French and this one's German. It doesn't actually go with those countries necessarily. It's just a way of, I guess, labeling them in that sense. So let me play each of these for you. Here's C major. Here is the Italian, and you can hear it resolved to 5. Here, those two pitches that make the diminished, or excuse me, the augmented 6 from A flat to F sharp. The French, some people say, has sort of a whole tone quality to it because of that major second. Actually, all those notes would be in the same whole tone collection, so that kind of makes sense. the French, resolves the same way. Here is the German sixth. You might think, hey, that sounds kind of like a major minor seventh chord. I know I say this in the other video as well. Hold that thought for a couple of weeks. In this case, it still has the way it's spelled, flat 6 and raised 4 in this key, and it pushes out to 5 and can go back to 1. Here's the Swiss, which works well if you're trying to resolve to a cadential 6/4, for example, because that D sharp would go up to E, and it just sort of, it's more of a tendency tone. It makes more sense in terms of notation. And here is the German seventh. In this case, sharp 4 and flat 6 are in reverse positions, bottom and top, but they now they're going to collapse inward to 5. So that is how each of those kind of looks in isolation and how they work. So I have these set up for you to practice resolving them. Let's go back to MuseScore for me. I have them set up right here. The first one we'll do is going to be in B minor. So let's do a couple in minor keys. I want to work on it like this. Italian 6th, going to 5, going to 1. And then let's go ahead and label the key B minor. Notice that we've got scale degree 6, scale degree 5, scale degree 1. This is definitely going to be 5. Let's add some Roman numerals. Remember that I kept saying flat 6, flat 6. Again, remember that flat 6 is already lowered in a minor key, meaning that here, flat 6 doesn't need a flat on it, it is already flat. So don't add anything to it. Just let it be, it's already lowered. So let's go ahead and make an Italian 6 here. So we've got like that. In our Italian 6 we need 1. We're going to, if you look back at what we did up here, which for me is down here, if you look at the Italian 6, notice that we doubled scale degree 1. So we definitely want to do that here as well. That means we need 2 B's as in Bravo, maybe 1 there, or actually maybe 1 there and there. Let's try different voicing just to mix it up. And then we need a sharp 4. So what is sharp 4 in this key? Well, 4 is B, C, D, E, and we needed to have a sharp on it. That one is not going to be in the key signature. You will have to add that yourself for sure. So there's our sharp 4. Flat 6 needs to go down to 5. That's already happening because of how the chords are going to progress, and that kind of does some work for you. Sharp 4 needs to go up to 5. So we're going to have 2 scale degree 5s here, 2 sol pitches here. We're going to double sol. And then we need to resolve it somehow to a 5 chord after that. So we need F, A sharp because it's the leading tone, and C. You could do that kind of either way here. I like to have a wider spacing in the bottom than in the top 2 voices. Whoops. And now we just have to resolve 5 to 1. Leading tone is in the soprano, so it needs to go up. The alto can stay the same. And then we have the third of the chord in the tenor. Let me play this for you. in B minor. Same thing. Oops, excuse me. Let me play this for you. Same thing. So there's our B minor example. We're going to do one of each. So let's look at this one in F minor. Let's do a French one. So for the French, we're going to, if you look back at the notes, we're going to need sharp 4, 1, flat 6, but now we're going to add scale degree 2. Let's do it a little differently. Let's put 1. We definitely need 1 still. In the alto, we need to have flat 6 in the bass. And notice that it's already in the key signature, so I don't need to add that flat. It's redundant. If you added it, it's not a big deal, but don't lower it anymore from where it is. Don't add a flat where there shouldn't be one. There's 2, and here is sharp 4. So 1, sharp 4. When I say sharp 4, I mean raised 4. Flat 6 or lowered 6, already lowered in a minor key. And 2. These need to push out. So resolving this is pretty straightforward in the sense that you don't have a lot of options. This has to go to 5, and this has to go to 5. Let's make sure I've labeled the key. The key is F minor. And let's label this chord before we go any further that this is the French augmented 6 chord. It's going to go to 5 because that is what these chords do as a rule. Of course, you'll find examples where that doesn't quite happen, and there are a couple of examples in the packet where they don't, because they're late romantic pieces and they're just different. And so there's that. Now let's see what else do we need here. We need T and we need Re. We need an E natural. Notice that Re's already in the second chord, or the French chord, so it can stay like that. So notice that these chords all have 1 in them, and then some of them have, or this one has a common tone with 5, so that's nice. Let's go down, inner bass. To resolve this chord, oops, let's make it a whole note. What else do we need? Another F, in which case we could bring the leading tone up to F in the alto. We can keep C in the soprano, we can keep our sol there. And put May in the tenor. So let me play this one for you too. Here's F minor. Let me play it again. Here's our French. Flat 6, raised 4, 1, and 2, to 5. You could voice that differently. You could put sharp 4 in an inner voice like we did in the previous example. You can put 1 in the top. It doesn't matter. You can voice them as you would another chord. There's like variety in how you can voice them, but then they all have to resolve the same way. Now let's look at another example in a major key so that we can see about adding some accidentals. Okay, we're going to start in G major here, or half notes. And I just want to start right on the German, so I'm going to add an E flat. There's my flat 6. I'm going to go to 5, and I'm going to go to 1. So we'll do the same progression we've been doing, just now with the German chord as well. Actually, let me then take a moment to label this. this being in G major, and go ahead and add these labels. That this is the German augmented 6 chord. This is going to be 5, and let's actually see if we can make it 5/7, because we've been just going to 5 the triad, and 1. Okay, so with our German, we already have our flat 6. We need a raised 4. We could put it, oops, whoa, what just happened? We could put our raised 4 in the soprano. Raised 4 is going to be C sharp. And then we still need a 1. And then to make it German, look back over here, we need a flat 3. It's already lowered in a minor key, but we're in a major key right now in G major, so we're going to need to add a B flat there. Now here's the thing, I've got a 5th, and I know that I'm moving down by step here in the bass. I don't want to just move to A in the tenor because that would be parallel 5ths. So let's look at what we have to do first. You have to push the flat 6 has to go down to 5, the sharp 4 has to go up to 5. That is always true, so we might as well start with that. And then we want to have, to make this a 5/7 chord, that means that we're going to have to leave out A. We're going to have to leave out the 5th because we can't have 2 scale degree 5s and a complete chord, and that's okay. You can have an incomplete 5/7 chord, that's extremely common. So instead now we need D, F sharp, we're going to leave out A, and that means we need C as well. We don't want to move from C sharp to C natural, so I'm glad I already went up there. But I could move from B flat to C natural, and I could move to F sharp, which I don't even need the accidentals in the key signature, for that F sharp right there. Now I have an incomplete 5/7 chord, but that means it'll be really easy to have a complete 1 chord. Remember that when you are resolving 5/7 to 1, Fa, the 7th of the 7th chord, needs to go down to Mi. Fa needs to fall to Mi. That's probably something you're likely to see on your homework sometime. It's a common issue. Sol can stay the same, it's in both chords. And the leading tone can step up to Do. Oops. So let me play this one for you. Here's G major. One more time. Now, one more thing for this video of part writing practice. I want to give you an unfigured bass and talk through how you might go about that, and then also talk about where we can put augmented 6 chord in the context of this larger progression. So you can see that I've given you the bare bones of that on the second page of your part writing handout. And I'm gonna work on it right here. So when you're given an unfigured bass, that means you have some choice over what the chords are. You can do chords other than the ones that I'm going to put here. That's fine. You have to make something make sense with the bass line that's in front of you. And if you're sort of unsure even where to start, know that you're probably going to start with 1. That's uncomplicated and logical, so let's do that. I like to figure out all the Roman numerals first before I go about working through the chords. I'm probably going to end with 1 also, because this isn't some kind of like radical avant-garde piece. I'm going to do what makes sense with the kind of syntax of tonality that we normally use. When you see 2 5s like this, like 5, 5, 1 in the bass with scale degrees, that's a hint that that would be a very good place for a cadential 6/4. So I like to include that here at the cadence point. This much I'm not really giving you a choice about, because that's kind of the only thing that makes sense here. Oh good, it'll let me just keep going. Let's do that. And then back to 1. So there's our cadential 6/4. I'm spelling it with this 5 chord to reinforce for you that we are not going to use 1/6/4. I am not okay with that. There is no 1/6/4. Let me try to tell you that is sort of like almost like in Star Wars, I'm going to use the Force to tell you, to convince you to think the way I am. You know, these are not the droids you're looking for. There is no 1/6/4. So here is where you have a little bit more choice about how you step down by step in the bass chromatically. Now think about this for a second. Where could the augmented 6 chord go? Well, for a typical augmented 6 chord, we want lay or lowered 6 in the bass. And because we're in a major key, that would have to have an accidental, and there's B flat. So that's your big clue that that's where the augmented 6 chord needs to go. Now, having said that, you have some choices about which one it is. If you wanted to, I think you could successfully get from a French chord to this cadential 6/4, or you could move with the Swiss spelling to the German chord. That's either of those is fine. Maybe we'll go through both of those just to be sure. You have a choice here if you want this to be 5/6, if you want this to be 4/6, etc. A chord that has the leading tone in it, in either case, has to go here. A chord that has scale degree 6 in it has to go here. Now, I'm partial to this progression that I'll add for you here. 5, 4, 3 of 6 going to 6. I just really like the way it sounds. It's in like some pop songs from the 80s and earlier. I just think it's cool. So we'll leave that one blank for now and we'll decide when we get there. Okay, so let's talk about this initial chord. You can, of course, work through this. I would love for you to like take a picture and post it in the thread to see like what you did here, if it's different in the whole progression, but especially in this first bar. If your first bar has different chords than mine, I would love for you to post that in the thread so that we can look at like different versions of how this can be. Or even if you use the same chords, but you just have a very different initial spelling or, you know, voicing or whatever. Oops, that's not in that chord. I like this voicing to start with because I like a nice wide space between the tenor and the bass, and I feel like that gives everybody room to move, but you could certainly voice this a different way. Okay, so there's a 1 chord. For the 5, 4, 3 of 6, skip it for a second and think, okay, 6 is B, as in Bravo. 5 of B is F sharp. F sharp 4, 3 chord is what we need here. So we need F sharp, A sharp, not in the key signature, so we'll have to add that. C sharp, and E natural. Well, I've got the C sharp here already. Here's an A. I bet I could make that into an A sharp. Let's try that. I need an F sharp, and there's one of those in the tenor already. And I need an E. So there I was able to complete that chord without having everybody leap around very much. I was looking for places where I could move by step and keep common tones, because that's your friend, that process. Now when I resolve this chord to 6, I need to think about what is Fa in this key. Which one is the 7th of the chord that needs to resolve down? That's like unambiguous. And in this case, Fa in the key of B, as in Bravo, would be E as in echo. I'm adding those words after each of these letters because I feel like it can be really hard to tell. B, D, E, G all sound kind of similar, so that's why I'm adding those letters, those words after them. Anyway, E as in echo is the 7th of the chord, needs to go down. F is also in this chord, right? B, D, F. So we can keep that there, and we can resolve the leading tone up and double B, double the bass and the root. So here's the key of D major. Here is this progression so far. Pretty nice. just really like secondary chords of 6. I think they sound cool. You could have used a different one. You could have used a different secondary chord of 6, even like an inversion of 7, half or fully diminished of 6. That'd be fine. Okay, now for this chord, which is our augmented 6 friend. Let's try a French chord just because it has all of the elements of the Italian, and let's try a French one and then we'll try a German one and just see how it goes. Okay, so French, here's our flat 6. We need a sharp 4, we need 1, and we need 2. So D is in this chord, that's our 1, that could stay. 2 would be E, and it looks like we could get there. You could have put that in the soprano, but it looks like we could get to E pretty easily from the tenor. And then let's see, now we need sharp 4, which is going to be F sharp, and it looks like that'll work pretty well in the alto. You could have made some different choices. You could have put that in the tenor, although that's a pretty big space between tenor and bass. You could have put the E in the soprano, etc. None of them had too far to go. Leaping down to that G sharp is consonant, so that kind of works. So then let's resolve that and then see what happens next. A needs to be in the alto for both of these because G sharp is pushing outward toward A. And then D is in this chord because it is 4 above 3. And then E is going to move to 6 above the bass, which is F sharp, down to E. And then everybody can resolve appropriately. So here's how that sounds with the French chord in it. It'll only be a slight adjustment to make it the Swiss chord. And I'll go ahead and actually, before I play it, I will label it here. So that you can know what you're hearing. Notice that we ended with the same one chord we started with. Let me play it again. Okay, and so now, what would we do to make this Swiss instead of French? It has to do with that scale degree 2. So remember then my list of things up here that I said the Swiss has instead of flat 3, it has sharp scale degree 2, which means we already have scale degree 2 in this chord. So we could simply raise scale degree 2 and have a complete German chord spelled the other way, the Swiss way. Let me play it for you now. Here it comes. Notice that the sharp 2 leads really naturally into scale degree 3, so we didn't even have to change anything about how this chord is voiced or how it resolved. It just moves chromatically in the tenor. There's our Swiss, really a German chord. So that's how that chord can resolve. If you have questions about this, please don't hesitate to ask me either in the thread or in email or in office hours, and I would be happy to go over it with you some more. And if you do have a different version of this, please take a picture and put it in the chat because I would love to see it. And I hope you enjoyed the second video with some analysis. Bye for now.